This is the road test video for a Honda Accord. This is a 2.4 EX automatic. Car is registered KX09CMO, and the current mileage on the vehicle is 56,239 miles. The reason we do the road tests is basically we're selling to customers all over the UK and most of Europe as well, actually, these days, such as the power of the internet, and we want people to see the cars in operation prior to come to see us, and that way you get a good feel for the car before you set out, and if there's any issues with the car I can make you aware of them before you come. What I try and do on the videos is basically much the same as you'd do yourself on a test drive, but I'll just give you feedback so that you've got nothing to that you'd be aware of everything before you come to see us. This particular car, as you'll know from the walk-around video, which should precede it, it's just the one doctor owner from new. It's had the car absolutely beautifully maintained. We drove it back probably 180 miles back to the garage. We drive all our cars back just to make sure that they're driving as they should, and it certainly did. It's a wonderful example. Engine of the car, absolutely sublime. It's just a wonderful engine. It's it kind of has the best of every world. It's got wonderful refinement. It's nearly 200 horsepower, so it's got plenty of grunt, but it's also got a lot of torque, which obviously Honda VTEC engines weren't particularly noted for. But it's just so smooth in operation. It's the lack of vibration is more akin to a 6-cylinder engine. I'd still rate this and the gearbox combination as one of Honda's very finest cars. I really do, and I've had lots of them, and they're wonderful. What makes it work so well is the fact that you've got a in theory the 2.4 should be worse on fuel than the 2 litres, and I think the manufacturers claim that. The reality is, in real world driving, I get better fuel economy out the 2.4s, and most of my customers have as well, because it's a much more relaxing car to drive. That extra grunt of the engine means there's far fewer gear changes. It holds its gear much longer because it's got the torque available to the engine and the power to be able to do that. But also it means it's revving lower most of the time, so you gain in fuel economy. But it's a wonderful unit. This particular one, obviously, it starts first turn of the key, utterly smooth. It's a beautiful unit. There's no warning lights on the car relating to the engine or anything else. It goes through to the automatic gearbox, which is a fantastically slick and well engineered gearbox. When they're noted for taking mega miles with virtually no issues at all. They are absolutely strong as an ox. But as the way they both work together, and it isn't always an absolute given. They work beautifully. So and the gearbox isn't hunting constantly, so the car's got the grunt to be able to cope with it. But the engine's just got a lovely it's got a lovely soundtrack. It's just beautiful to use. It really is. And in terms of economy, I've got customers getting 40, but I'm not going to claim that. Honda claim less. I tend to average got a mid-30s out of them, very easily indeed. But it's a very efficient engine, and in terms of reliability, there's not another manufacturer comes close to giving the reliability and longevity that this particular engine provides. As I'm also driving along now, just listening out for kind of noises that shouldn't really be there. By that I mean generally, if there's a poorly fitted windscreen, or a seal got in a door or sunroof, you sometimes can get an annoying hiss on a car that's generally as refined as this one is. But there's nothing at all. It's very quiet, exactly where I was expected to be for this make and model of car. Car tracks absolutely bullet straight. There's not a hint of vibration or wear in the car anywhere. It is astonishingly solid. Suspension, I'll talk about steering and suspension more in a second anyway. but the suspension goes about its business very smoothly, very quietly. You know, you can hear it going over bumps, which you should be able to, but what you don't get is any of those kind of aftershocks, little sort of metallic noises which you sometimes get on cars, even with, you know, mileage as low as this. So if I go over a bump, which I'll get into in a second, like that, but there's no kind of noises. You know, things like kind of sort of drop links, center roll bar links, the, you know, suspension struts, so they've got a little bit of wear, they can move a little bit, and you hear a bit of metal on metal, and it just makes the car feel a little bit old and a bit tired. But this is like driving one off the production line. It's that tight and that smooth, and just feels it as well as soon as you drive the car. What I'm going to do is go up a particularly bumpy, it's a horrible little road actually, but it tests the car. I'm just going to put my foot down and shut up for a second. And now I'm going to hit the brakes. Wow, yeah, very, very, very solid brake pedal. There's no pulsing, no vibration coming back through the pedal, because obviously automatic relies on the brakes of the car a lot more than a manual car driven properly. But it's all very solid, very tight. You know, it does, you know, this is why we as a company we go all over the country to buy these cars. I could buy other cars, you know, out of auction, but you don't know what you're getting, you know, multiple owners or whatever else. You know, buying cars one owner, as fastidiously maintained as this one has, will always, nearly always at least, result in an incredibly tight drive. So check the cruise control function, which works absolutely perfectly. You can, on the gearboxes on these cars, you've got paddles on the steering wheel, minus and plus. So basically you can change gear, 5 gears internal in this gearbox. So if I was overtaking now, I might want to drop it down to 3rd gear, accelerate past something, change up, do it myself, and it means that the car doesn't change gear halfway through an overtaking manoeuvre, which, you know, can be a bit frustrating and a little bit dangerous, obviously. But it all works absolutely beautifully. Looking around inside the car, it's a lovely interior, especially with the two-tone interior they can put on these ones. It really brightens it up. But being an EX spec, it's huge specification, but it's all in lovely, lovely condition. We've not valeted it yet. It won't take long because it's so clean. But looking inside the vehicle, not a hint of a squeak or a rattle from the interior. They are beautifully, beautifully made cars. The top of the heel, all sort of soft touch, nicely textured plastics. They've got a really nice, high dominating sat-nav screen, all working absolutely perfectly. Obviously, pop that into reverse, as you've probably seen from the previous video. That goes into a lovely parking camera as well. Then you've got a really dead simple, easy to use sort of radio, and obviously functions for the operating the sat-nav itself. It's just simplicity in itself. It's wonderful. Down here, you've got dual zone climate control. We've checked the air conditioning, pumps out absolutely ice cold air. It works brilliantly. Quality of the switches, astonishing, absolutely brilliant. Multi-play CD player down there, and then you've got heated seat buttons, and I've got mine on at the moment, working absolutely beautifully. But you know, the video probably doesn't really bring across just the condition is beautiful. Coming across to the dashboard, really classic Honda dashboard, nice and symmetrical, big dominating dials, like the rev counter and the speedo there. Temperature's running at a 3rd, which is exactly where it wants to be on a Honda. Every function working perfectly. Steering wheel, again, just feels like new in my hand. There's no paint worn off any of the buttons. Obviously, radio controls on the left, cruise control, which we know works on the right. Information display, so I can look through different screens on the vehicle there. And then obviously hands-free functions if it's compatible on the bottom left there as well. But it's all in wonderful, wonderful condition, it really is. These videos, as I do point out, they're not just box ticking exercises. You know, we are here to sell cars, of course we are. But we're also here as a garage. This is why we do the videos, is to be honest on appraisal. If there's something wrong with the car, I will tell you, and I do tell people, and I've done it on my previous videos. They're not normally massive, but they, you know, they are there. And but on this vehicle, I can genuinely say it's one of the very, very, very nicest examples we've ever bought. Certainly in terms of its mechanical condition, at least anyway. But it brings me back to the car itself. You know, I am horribly biased on these ones. I genuinely think it's one of the very, very best cars you could buy for the money. If you were going to compare this, let's say, to its natural competitors, which would be, you know, it's kind of a cut above Mondeo Vectra in all honesty, but if you're looking at Toyota Avensis, you're looking at Audi A4, Mercedes C-Class, BMW 3 Series, VW Passat possibly, you know, you're looking at very fine cars. But if you're looking at a Passat, you're looking at a DSG gearbox, which are brilliant when they're working, but we know the horror stories. We've been on the receiving end of them. You know, they have horrible problems. On top of which, it's a bland chassis compared to this one. C-Class Mercedes, again, lovely cars, but problematic. We all know that. 3 Series BMW, yes, dynamically brilliant car. Not gonna, but for, I'd say, 99% of the buying population who aren't Lewis Hamilton, you know, you're never going to extract that chassis performance unless you take it out onto a track. And if you do it on the public road, you've been horrendously antisocial. This gives, I think, one of the very finest ride and handling compromises, because that's ultimately what it is. This next section of road sums it up perfectly, so it's just a fuel light pinging on. This is a nasty series of bends, and this shows how unflappable the chassis is. I'll take them a little bit quicker than I would do ordinarily. It's a nasty, horrible, rainy day, but you've got a few yumps and bumps. But if you watch the steering, it just stays absolutely static. And this is a horrible adverse camber right with a little yump in the middle of it. So I'm going to go way quicker than I should. Pitch it in, and it's absolutely unflustered. It is a brilliant chassis, wonderfully accurate steering, beautifully weighted. I don't think it's a better car. You know, chassis wise, it's top notch. Build quality, it's as good, if not better, than anything on the marketplace. And in terms of reliability, you'd probably say that only the Toyota would come even remotely close. And they're not built for the same high mileage that these things can do. Yeah, I wholeheartedly and thoroughly recommend it. If I've missed anything on the video, please do give us a call. I'd be happy to answer any questions.